So 3 weeks ago, you wouldn't have been able to hear my voice over the din of cicadas chorusing. Today, it's very quiet here in Chicago. You just hear the traffic and the normal signs of planes and people. And there is evidence that once upon a time, not so very long ago, the magical cicadas rose from the ground, had their giant party, and departed, leaving us with holes and nymphs who are underground for the next 17 years. Journey back in time and join Lynn Coles and me on a fabulous cicada journey.
So get yourself a friend like Lynn Coles, somebody that when they say, let's go look for the cicadas, you say, sure. Never mind all the practical considerations of how are we going to get there? When are we going to go? You've got the friend who's got everything covered. These are the kinds of friendships I wish for everybody at least once in your lifetime. That friend who you are delighted to go on the road with, that friend who challenges you, who gets you excited in their passions, and who shows you things you never thought you'd see. So we had barely been in Chicago an hour when we took a little road trip on our way to our Airbnb, and we discovered the cicadas at night in Centennial Park. I want you to listen for a moment, and I'm going to show you some of what we heard.
We see one emerging right now from its exoskeleton. These are going to be periodical cicadas. So they look like they have black eyes right now, but they're going to have bright red eyes when their adult bodies harden and their wings fully unfurl. And over here you can see some holes where they have emerged, and you can see lots of exoskeletons here. And you can also see
some very large worms. There's also some over there.
Yeah, interesting. So I'm sure this is quite a feast for the animals that feast on these kinds of things.
So let me set the scene for you. Centennial Park, Park Ridge neighborhood. Shadows are dark, the neighborhood is asleep. You're not hearing the sound of cicadas, except for the occasional male who has woken up and is testing his pre-call. Right now, the business of the cicadas is their transformation, and this is the place to see it.
So this is Dr. Diane. We've literally been in Chicago for an hour, and we're here in Parkside, and we came to check out the cicadas. This is the quiet time. You're not going to hear a lot, but boy, is there magic happening. We're watching them emerge, and we can see them in different states of development all the way up the tree. Here.
There's a whole group of nymphs that look like they just came out of the ground, and there are holes here, and I feel like you can see them going towards the...
So they're looking for a tree, a
these
pole.
These guys are crawling up the concrete.
To climb up, and then they can shed their exoskeleton and have their adult form with wings. By the morning, they'll be able to fly away.
Oh, look at that one. You can see the one on the grass, the little blade of grass it's trying to climb up. So we see the holes where the nymphs are emerging after their years, and you see they're climbing up this tree, and they're in very varying stages of emergence. Some of them are just coming out and you can't see really wings at all because they're still so crumpled, and then some of them you can start to see what's going to be their adult shape. So the ones that are in the tree that are sort of half sticking out of their exoskeletons. So here's one that you can really see the adult shape a little bit more. And it's got its exoskeleton, well, not anymore, sticking to itself. So, and it looks like they have black eyes, but these are all periodical cicadas. They're going to have red eyes. Very different than what we have in Florida. And then the ones just above it, where they're still stuck to the tree, they're still in a state of emerging. Yes.
you can barely tell that those are going to have wings. And they'll be, you know, nice brown and grays and greens.
And you can hear just a little bit of a click. So we know that this one's a male because he's making noise. This is not the time of day that they typically make noise. We'll hear a lot more in the morning. But they've got the timbrels and they sound like little drums.
Imagine if you had been underground for 17 years. You would want to make a little bit of noise too.
This one.
So this is a female cicada. She's been in the ground for 17 years. And she decided to come out tonight and join the world.
And how do you know she's a female?
If you look carefully on the underside of her abdomen, you can see the channel with the ovipositor.
An ovipositor is basically your egg depositor, correct?
Yes, they use it. It's like a short, strong tube, and they use it to lay eggs in small branches of trees. And the cells in the ovipositor actually have metal in them. It's very strong. It's also double serrated.
So kind of like a knife.
Exactly, but on two sides.
Well, welcome to the world.
So this looks to be a female. There's an ovipositor. You can kind of see the channel there. Plus, she's not making any noise. While this guy, noisy boy, see, it's more of a rounded abdomen, and you don't see that ovipositor.
So are you trying to set up a date now?
I don't know. Let's see if they like each other. Because that is on my bingo card.
I think you got
Look at
your
her
wish.
flicking her wings.
Was he just rejected?
I believe so. She had an initial wing flip, and then she was like, not tonight.
So we're still keeping it PG here.
Keeping it PG.
Are you ready for today's adventure? We'll see the cicadas as they mate, as they reproduce, and as they have that final cicada party to make sure that the population lasts for the next 17 years. All right, so Lynn, you are the mastermind behind our cicada adventures. How do you plot the day's journeys? What resources are you using?
I am looking at the live map on Cicada Safari, which was populated with sightings, actual sightings by citizen scientists like you. And I am looking at Google Maps, and I am looking at the Facebook pages of Cicada Mania and Cicada Science Discussion and seeing where people have spotted things. But one thing I noticed on the map is if you just look at where the saved green areas are, where we've actually saved some habitats and some greenery and not built over it, then that's where you're going to find the cicadas, in the woods.
We're at Lyons Woods Park in the outskirts of Chicago, and you can see our various stages. You can definitely hear them this morning. They're coming in at about 74 decibels, which is the equivalent of your vacuum cleaner. And if you look up the tree, you can see that we've got many of our friends here.
There's so many cicadas on the bark of this young tree, and we were speculating that maybe that was because of the width of
these tree limbs might be perfect for those female ovipositors to penetrate and lay eggs in. Of course, once they hatch, the nymphs drop to the ground, burrow, and stay in there for 17 years. But we plucked a few off the tree here, and they were all males. So maybe they're just having a gathering.
So we've definitely moved from PG to R/X rated, but a little more of the cicadas doing what cicadas are supposed to be doing. Thatcher Woods, Frank Lloyd Wright's old neighborhood, and currently the home to millions and millions of cicadas. Decibel levels are consistently hitting about 88, which is comparable to your dishwasher. They're just amazing. So this old stump behind me is a really great example of how everything in the forest ecosystem is sort of working together to make this a perfect recipe for the cicada emergence. We start down here with the soft ground. You can feel that it's warm, and you've got the tunnels that they've recently hatched from. And so they've been lying at the roots of this tree that has probably seen emergences since at least the time of Thomas Jefferson. And then you work your way up the tree, and as we work our way up, you can see that there's a nymph that stopped along the way, and then they've made their way right on up here to the underside of all of these leaves, where they're in that really cool stage before they're the full-fledged adult cicadas. We're sort of in that final molting place. And tonight I expect we'll see them coming out, doing what we saw last night, and then we'll have more cicadas to contribute to this beautiful noise.
Mammal footprints are
Those are raccoons.
raccoons.
Look at that. Here, raccoons.
Oh, those are cute. And I think over there, raccoon, bigger raccoon maybe.
Mm-hmm. Do we think the raccoons and the deer and other animals might be eating cicadas?
Yum yum.
So the cicadas fuel the ecosystem while they're around, and you can see the robin ahead of us doing a little foraging, and we suspect that the bunny might be joining in. But the robins are most definitely making a feast out of this. Cicada years tend to be really good years for other animals in the ecosystem, both in terms of those that immediately eat the cicadas, as well as those further up the food chain. If you take a look, you'll see that there are big boom years that are associated in terms of life the immediate year after one of these cicada explosions. So I'm currently registering between 85 and 90 decibels on my decibel meter. Lynn, what are you getting?
I scored a 96, but my decibel meter says that the highest it's heard in the last half hour is 99 decibels. My goal is to break 100.
I gotta tell you, I know some people find this really annoying. I think it's soothing, and it's almost like a wave. Like you can hear it crescendo and then go back down.
It's a very positive feeling. It resonates somewhere inside of you. You feel the vibration. It's like the universe is speaking to you in some way.
Or at least all the male cicadas. So we are on day 2.1 of the cicada journey, since we did start with the midnight exploration. So Lynn, where are we driving right now?
We are going to the Dunn Museum in the Lake County Forest Preserves area, which is this big green belt. So we're slightly farther north of where we were yesterday. So it's going to be interesting to see what we find, because not only are we slightly north, of course cicadas require a certain soil temperature to emerge, but we are also, if you can see or not, it's a cloudy day today, and yesterday was completely sunny. So yesterday we could stop at a stoplight and see them flying around, and I'm very curious to see, since it's a little cooler and cloudier and slightly farther north, if we will see the same number out and about.
And Lynn, you've been the one sort of being our guru on all things magicicada. Why did you pick this for today?
Well, again, on Cicada Safari and Cicada Mania and other groups, because the Lake County Forest Preserves are this older growth forest and this land that's been preserved from human impact, this is where we're really going to see the creatures of all kinds, not just the cicadas. And all the data that scientists have tracked for years, I mean, they've been studying these emergences. If they emerge one time, they're going to emerge another time, just 13 or 17 years later. So we know they're here, we know they're in the ground, and we know it's time for them to come out. So.
Well, and I remember Dr. Kritsky saying when we did our first podcast that basically if you want to study cicadas, you have to be super patient.
Absolutely.
And if there's a question you have, you can always wait 13 or 17 years to get the answer.
Absolutely.
We are arriving curious. Let's go learn about cicadas.
Tell us your name and what you do here.
Okay, I'm Andy Walker, and I'm the Visitor Services Coordinator here at the Dunn Museum. I greet people, I answer phones, I talk about cicadas lately, like nobody's business. I also do a lot of the ordering for the store, and I open and close the store up and the museum during the day.
So how many people have come here recently looking for cicadas?
Gosh, over the weekend, we probably had close to 200 people, and that was for probably just Saturday. So, I mean, normally on a good day, 30 people is a lot for us. So Saturday and Sunday, it's probably closer to like 400 for
Wow.
both days.
And you said you have Cicada Fest this Sunday, is that right?
We do, yes. Cicada Fest is going to be at Ryerson, which is one of our forest preserves with the Lake County Forest Preserves. And they plan on having crafts and they're going to show different parts of cicadas. I mean, they have lots of things planned for that day.
And everybody is excited about cicadas?
Very excited, yes. I've never realized that so many people were turned on by cicadas. They just love it. I had no idea.
So what's the single thing you've learned about cicadas that you've found to be the most fascinating?
The most fascinating, I think, is that some of them are, a couple of things here. Some of them they have a fungus, so they're like zombie cicadas. Another fun fact is that they will be in trees, and if you're under the tree, you can get hit by cicada rain. So
That happened to me yesterday.
Oh my goodness. It hasn't happened to me yet, so hoping it doesn't.
I figure I can check that off my cicada list now.
I think you can. Yep, and it's probably good luck. Just like
like,
yoga
yeah.
and you get beat on by a
Exactly.
goat. So, yeah.
So as we go through the museum, what can we expect to see for cicadas?
Well, you will see some larger than life cicadas. They're on the graphics in the wall, and you will see how the different cicadas sound. You will see. We have a local artist that has drawn some artwork for us, so you will see those as well.
And then if we go to Ryerson, what can we expect to see today?
You can expect to see millions of cicadas. They are all over, like the shells are all over the grounds, they're crawling up trees, they are singing to each other, they're flying around, they'll even land on your shoulder, so as long as you're not afraid, it'll be very gentle, very fun.
Excellent. And are you planning on being here when they come back in 17 years?
I definitely will be here.
Excellent.
Yeah, come back. I'll be here.
All right, Lynn, you're currently building a cicada. What are the important things we should know about a cicada?
Well, they're true bugs. You've got to have the 6 legs. Cicadas are cool because they have 5 eyes. They have the 2 big ones that everyone notices, but they have these 3 little ones as well. You've got to have 2 sets of wings, head, thorax, abdomen.
How many legs?
6. They're true bugs.
So, as we're going through this exhibit, I have noticed, we've been looking all through Chicago. We're looking at periodical cicadas in the Illinois area. You guys have been tracking annuals in Florida. What's the difference between an annual and a periodical cicada?
Well, annuals do not come out at a specific time. So the emergence with the periodicals is depending on what brood they're part of. So in this area, it could be 13 or 17 years that they're coming out. And there are other broods as well. Annuals, they're in the ground still, but maybe 2 to 5 years. So they come out every year. So it's not a timed emergence with a mass. You have them every year. And they're typically a little bigger. This is an annual cicada, and the lack of red eyes is a huge indicator. These are one of the types we have in Florida. There's a variation of this, is a hieroglyphic cicada that has the Johannes version, which is what we find in North Florida, which is where we're from.
Do they sound different?
They do sound different. Let's see if they have. Here is the annual. This is what we hear. Sounds like home.
And then, we've been listening to the Cassini, we think.
So this is what we've heard here in the greater Chicago area.
Play the septendecula one.
It's interesting because we haven't been hearing the isolated voices. We've been out and about looking for them. We hear the whole chorus where they're all overlapping, and you get kind of this like flowing, constant song.
I was thinking it almost sounded like an ocean wave yesterday. And which one is that? The septendecim?
17.
We definitely have not heard that one. But I want to find it now.
Maybe that's the one people have been mistaking for car alarms.
Yes. Yes.
It's a very...
Doesn't it?
It has a very car alarm
If
sound.
you heard that at 96 decibels, you would.
I would
want
think it
the
was a car
to be
alarm.
Turned off. All right. So these are the two we're seeing here in the greater Chicago area.
I agree.
As part of our investigation into the magical world of cicadas, Lynn and I had the great good fortune of interviewing Dr. Jean Kritsky, the Indiana Jones of the cicada world, for our Adventures in Learning podcast. Let's check in for just a little snippet of a previous episode, and then we'll take a look at the impact he's had on this exhibit here at the Dunn Museum.
The magicicada, the periodical cicadas that we have, are endemic or unique to the eastern United States. They're as unique to the eastern U.S. as giraffes are to Africa.
Excellent.
So that's when. Where?
Yes.
The where depends on where you are in the world, and if you have cicada safari. If you have cicada safari, you can watch the map live as people report that things are verified, their photos are verified. You'll see these little cicada icons popping up all over the map, and you can actually zoom in and get right down to the street. And that's how we.
I'm so glad that you brought us into this particular exhibit. It's so much fun to see Jean Kritsky's hands on everything. How did you know this was a Jean Kritsky inspired exhibit when you walked in?
Well, I learned from reading more about him online and his work that he was involved in this exhibit. So I was super excited that we were able to plan a trip to the greater Chicago area and be out here at the Best Bauer Dunn Museum.
And one of the things I think I really appreciate, first of all, this amazingly gorgeous artwork
Samantha Gallagher has done an incredible job, and you all need to follow her on Instagram because this artwork is spectacular. But I'm appreciating the sense of humor with which all of the cicada information is presented, as well as just how accessible this is. Even if you're not cicada obsessed like we are, you will find this information really easy to use and be able to share with folks around you.
I would hope people would walk away with an appreciation and understanding of cicadas, and also a love for the mature trees that cicadas need to perpetuate their existence and the importance of preserving them.
So I think with that being said, it's time for us to go look at some more cicadas. So right now, as we're walking into Ryerson, I've got to say the cicadas are pretty subtle, but we're not deep in the woods yet. So one of the things we're looking for today as we're walking are signs of egg laying, and we're looking for potentially different eye colors as well.
Is poison ivy up the, look at all of the exoskeletons on poison ivy, and cicadas too. They must not be sensitive.
Well, and we noticed yesterday that they seem to really like the poison ivy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's one way of keeping certain predators, aka humans, away from them. Fascinated by is the sheer number that are attached to the leaves coming out from the tree trunk.
That is another poison ivy vine, I believe, or Virginia creeper.
I wonder why they're so interested in attaching there. Maybe it's easier to get purchased than on the tree itself.
Well, and the adults also drink, well, the nymphs are used to drinking the juices from the tree roots, and I would think it'd be easier to get juice. It's more like what they had in the womb, so to speak, than the actual tree limb.
So the womb would be down here underground, correct?
Right, and so the roots, they're just drinking the fluids from the roots. So it's probably easier to drink fluids, especially if you're young and tender. I'm just guessing.
What are we listening for?
We're listening for the alarm-like, car alarm-like noise of one of the varieties of cicadas. Every cicada species has its own call.
So we just found our first cicada inside Ryerson. And what do we think? On the top, it kind of looks like the Cassinis we've seen, right?
That's true, that's true. It's all going to depend on what we see underneath. Are we going to see all black, or are we going to see yellowish gold stripes?
Let me see. Come on, buddy. She does not, I'm pretty sure it's a she. And she is being very stubborn. There we go. Can you see underneath there?
Sure can, and it is definitely a she. And you see those golden yellow bands. That would be what, Diane?
A septum decim. And just look at those beautiful wings. Can you see how they're closed together?
They're just so beautiful and opalescent. They very instinctively want to crawl up, 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 which is what they're doing in these trees.
There you go.
The septum decims, unlike the Cassinis, have the yellowish gold stripes on the underneath, but they also, their wings are spread out just a little bit more. They're not so much in a tight point.
So here you can actually see the difference between the Cassini and the septum decim. If you look right here, that's the Cassini, and she's small. You can see that she's teeny tiny. She's not making noise. The noise we hear in the background are the boy cicadas. And she's all black on her underbelly. Whereas over here, that's the septum decim, and she's very wiggly right now. But you can see her ovipositor, and again, not making noise, and you can see the kind of goldish brown stripes on her abdomen as well. So that's a really cool side-by-side. So if we look at these two, you can see that there's a difference even between them. The one right over here has the skinnier bands, and then the one over here's got much wider bands of sort of that
brownish gold. And we think that, what's the one with the narrower band's name? Is that the septum decim?
Decim decula.
Septum decula. And decula is the one that we think is making the car alarm noises. Although we've seen nothing but girls. The boys we've only heard in the trees and seen flying above us. Very cool. We finally found a boy. Listen to him purr. And we're pretty sure this is a septum decim because of the skinny bands on the underbelly or the abdomen. Sounds like a teeny tiny motor.
Here we are on the last 24 hours of our trip, and I think it's safe to say we have found all 3 magicicadas of the species that are around this greater Chicago area.
And those are all members of Brood XIII. So we just hit a really loud pocket today. These are hitting in the 84 decibel range, which is more like a small appliance. Hey Lynn, take a look at this one. This one appears to be one-eyed.
So my guess would be that a squirrel or a bird had itself a tasty little caviar-like snack. They can function without either of their eyes.
That's really cool.
Remember, cicadas only live in this form, in their adult form, for 1 to 4 weeks, after living underground in another form for 17 years.
So they need the durable form for down below.
Yes.
All right.
So this is evidence of the fungus that affects cicadas, and you see this white chalky mass that takes the place of their lower abdomen. Basically, their butts fall off, but because of the hallucinogenic and the amphetamine that's in the fungus, the cicada doesn't realize it and continues to fly around and spread the fungus.
So when they do that, are they sort of inoculating the rest of the population?
They're definitely, that's how it's spread. Some people call it zombie fungus. And so, but the amounts of the drugs that are in their system, you'd have to eat hundreds of cicadas, you or your dog, before it would negatively infect you. So this is something that just affects cicadas.
So thank you for joining us on this amazing cicada adventure. You've now had 1, 2, and 3 opportunities to learn all about cicadas from Dr. Jean Kritsky, the Indiana Jones of the cicada world, to our podcast where we looked at picture books about cicadas. We looked at STEM activities and entomorphography. And then the real life adventure where we've traveled with the cicadas.
Here's to the next 17 years.